everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Dear Profiler Pat, where you ask me questions and ask for my advice, and I give it to you. And this is part of my travel playlist. Because many of you know that I travel a lot, as you can see, here I am in Egypt, here I am in India, and this is actually when I was in Kashmir, which is also India, but a lot of people don't know that. Anyway, if you want me to answer one of your questions, please do send me an email to profilerpatbrown@gmail.com and put in the subject line, Dear Profiler Pat. And if you just want to be sure to get all of my advice on this channel, please do subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications. Okay, now, this is a question I get a lot because people are very, very fearful of this, and it messes up their travel because they're paranoid before they start, they're paranoid during it, and they're always uncomfortable because they think they're going to get robbed or ripped off. So the question is, Dear Profiler Pat, how can I prevent getting robbed or ripped off while traveling? And I want to let you know that I have been traveling since I was 19 and I'm hitting 70. So we're talking 50 years worth of travel. And I have traveled in all of the US. I spent a lot of time in Mexico, I've been to Nicaragua, Honduras, Costa Rica, Belize, where else have been down there? I'm trying to think, start forgetting where you've been. I've been in Cuba. I've been in many of the different islands in the Caribbean. I have been all over Europe. I have been in West Africa, in Ghana, Togo, Dahomey, and Nigeria. It's Dahomey now, Benin. I may be Benin now. And I've been twice to Egypt for work. And I have been to India 5 times. That's one of my favorite places. I have been to China twice. I've been to Mongolia, where I took a group of women to Mongolia to check it out. So that's just some of the places. I've been all over the place. So, and guess what? Never been robbed. And really, I don't think I've ever been ripped off. And you say, how is that possible? Because, I mean, it's not like I look like a lot of the locals in places I go. You could look at me and say, oh, there's a tourist to be ripped off. All right. Let me start with this. When you go to any location, you don't want to be so freaking obvious that you're a tourist. It helps if you don't do that. You see how I'm dressed here? A lot of people think when I walk around this is obviously is at the Taj Mahal, which people might think, oh, she is a tourist, but I am dressed totally Indian. And a lot of places I go in India, I've been all over South and North India, and I dress in saris or salva camisas. I dress properly because I've seen American ladies, they'll like, oh, look, it's a sari, and they'll try to wrap themselves in the most ludicrous way you've ever seen. You're just like, don't do that. So be sure you dress appropriately for the locals. And if you look more like the locals, they'll think, maybe you live here. I've been in Egypt, total hijab, and I've had total Egyptian clothes, and I have a head covering, and people would have looked at me and thought, well, she might be Egyptian. She clearly doesn't, quote, look Egyptian, but there are definitely white people who are Egyptians, just like there are white Jamaicans and there are black Russians. I mean, they're not just the drink, but people who have moved to Russia who happen to be darker skinned than most of the Russians. So, yeah, so you get that. And so you can look like you don't, quote, match exactly most of the local people, maybe physically, but because you're dressed so similar to them or acting in a way that's similar, they don't even think of you as necessarily a tourist. But for the most part, you are going to be seen as a tourist when you go to places. I just recommend that just so you don't really stand out and piss people off, don't wear clothes that are completely inappropriate for the tourist area you're in, even if it's a tourist area. Don't go half naked where you're in a Muslim country. Just don't do it, okay? So when you seemingly dress appropriately and you act appropriately, the next thing is to not get robbed, is don't go places that you get robbed. I mean, don't make drug deals in Mexico. Probably not a good idea. Don't go down back alleys in the dark. Don't go to questionable bars. Don't do stupid stuff, because stupid stuff will get you robbed. And you'll get robbed at knife point and gunpoint in certain countries if you do stupid stuff. Don't do stupid stuff. Do what I do. Stay with women and children. That's my number one rule to not getting robbed, is that you're with families. And therefore, if you're with families, you're less likely to be in a situation where it's sleazy people are around who are criminal types. So therefore, you're in a much safer situation if you stay around women and children. And I have stuck with that no matter what country I'm in, what state I'm in. I stick with it, and that has worked well for me. Now you're reasonably dressed, so people aren't upset with you, and now you hang around women and children, which is a good thing. All right, now the next part is you say, what do I bring with me as far as cash goes and money, and how do I carry it so that I don't get pickpocketed? All right, I'm going to show you my favorite trick, and that is this. It's just a simple, cheap. It's actually $5. I bought it through Walmart originally. I don't think they carry them anymore. I go to eBay now, but you can buy something similar. You can actually fold this up and into almost nothing. Which I have something in here, but you can fold it up in almost nothing and stuff it in something and use it as your day pack. And inside there is this. Let's see if I can show it to you. There's a pocket. So there's this pocket here. See, it's hard to show you. It's a pocket. So it goes like this. Now, if you'll notice, the pocket is on your back. So what happens is when you carry this during the day and you put it over your shoulder like this and you put it on your back, the pocket is actually against your back. That's where you put anything that you don't want to be messed with. Okay, if you don't have like a safe at your hotel and you have to carry your passport, for example, that's a good place to carry it. And you can carry a few other things you might like. And what you do is in front of that, on the outside, that's sticking out, you put in a sweater and a bunch of junk. So when the guy comes up, theoretically, to rob you, what he gets is this whole area, which has got nothing but junk, and he can't get to what's against your back. And now, if he puts a gun to your head and says, give me your backpack, well, you're screwed. But I mean, generally speaking, when you're in a populated area, you're really more worried about people who might slash something, grab something out of your back pocket. For God's sake, stop putting a wallet in the back pocket. I mean, just don't be dumb like that. So that thing keeps it against your back and pretty safe. Now, the other thing you want to make sure of is, now when I say you can put a passport there, I may not put my passport there. I may put my passport on an inside pocket of my jeans. It all depends on what I'm wearing. You don't want to carry a lot of money where people can access it easily. You don't want to take out a wallet with a whole bunch of money in it. So what you do is you take your money, the important money, if you can't put it in a safe, if you've got cash. By the way, most places these days, you can just use credit cards and ATMs. I use ATMs all over the world. You just go there. It's great because it goes straight. You don't have to go to an exchange place to get the money. Just go to the ATM and it spits out the money that's local. And so I take my ATM card, I take a credit card, and some people will take more than one. And what you do is you put your credit cards either in the safe or you put them on the inside pocket of your clothing, something where it can't be accessed. And then when you go to the ATM machine, what you don't do is take out a wallet with everything in it so somebody can snatch it out of your hand. What you do is you go into the bathroom, you take out the one thing you need, you go up to the ATM machine and you use that one thing. You get as much money as you need to use for the day or whatever whatever cash you need. The rest of the time, you just use one of those credit cards and you're good. Now, before you leave home, by the way, you want to call the credit card company up and tell them what country you're going to be in, because if you just suddenly show up in another country, they'll often cut your credit card off thinking it's been stolen. I had that problem once because I was in Puerto Rico with my daughter, and the following day I went to India, and they're like, who's in Puerto Rico on Monday and India on Wednesday? They couldn't put the two together, so they blocked it. So you always want to call them and tell them yes, this is my travel plan. Don't mess my card up. But you always want to have an extra one just in case they do. I use credit cards almost every place I go. And otherwise, I go to the ATM machine and get my cash out for the things that are, more local stuff that you can't use a credit card on, buying stuff at a market or whatever. And so what you do is you make sure that those things, the most important things, are an inside pocket. So yes, if you have depending on how you're built, you could have an inside pocket for your passport and your credit card. Or if that doesn't really work, you can put your credit card, as I said, in that pocket on the inside, put your credit cards on the inside pocket of a jean or something. And you can buy, if you don't have inside pockets for your clothing, you can always buy like a little money belt that goes underneath your clothes. And that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. One time I did have to travel to Cuba I took 10 ladies to Cuba, and they each gave me $1,000 for the trip. And Americans cannot use a credit card in Cuba or an ATM card. They have to use cash only. I carried $11,000 in cash with me, and I bought a bra wallet, and it was waterproof, and I put $11,000 in there. And I already have a big enough chest, but I had a bigger chest. And so, and I even went swimming with it. I was like, I'm swimming in the ocean going, I have $11,000 on me. It was kind of funny. And then what I would do is at night, I would sleep in it because I couldn't take a risk on losing all those people's money. I would sleep in it. And then when the morning came, I would go into the bathroom and I would choose out of that money how much money I needed to distribute to a driver to the place I was staying at and all of that. And I put it in this pocket or that pocket. I distributed it. And every day my chest got smaller and smaller and smaller until that was normal size to get. And but that's how I dealt with that much money. But most of the time, what I would do when I'm traveling is if I went and got some money that was a bigger amount, I would always make sure that I go into a bathroom and put it where it needs to go before I come back out. Therefore, when I'm going to a store or something, they're only going to see a small amount of money. I also sometimes I carry like a little wallet that has fake credit cards in it. It's just credit cards that are all dead credit cards. I put them in there, and I put a little bit of money. And the theory is if I get robbed, well, I'm going to get robbed a couple, $20 or something, and a bunch of credit cards that are no good. So I mean, if somebody did say, "Give me your wallet," I'm like, okay, fine, because the wallet's pretty meaningless except for like $20. So never just have all your money in one spot on the outside where people can grab it. So I move it around into different places depending on how much I need to pull out, and I always pull it out. And I say I use a lot of bathrooms. Go in the bathroom and distribute the money, and then come out with exactly how much money I'm going to need to use in public. And that way, I don't show a lot of money. And if I get, say if anybody grab my wallet or whatever I have it in, not going to get much of it because most of it's on, unless somebody puts a gun to my head and says, pats me down and checks all my clothing and does all that in the middle of, the middle of a street and in a populated area, it's probably unlikely. Again, stay out of skeezy places, don't do drug deals in back alleys. They will do that to you then. So that's how I handle the money. And I've never, ever been pickpocketed because I don't have anything in a back pocket. I do have my little bag over my shoulder, but they can't access it unless they steal the entire bag. And if they did steal the entire bag, well, again, I try not to put the passport back there. Try to find another place to put the passport if I can. If I can't, I'd say nobody's ever stolen the bag off of me because that's not usually what they do in a public area. Again, usually unless you're swinging it down the street like this and they just grab it out of your hand. I mean, you got to watch just doing dumb stuff. But never had any problem. And in the room, I say I put everything in a safe or I sleep on top of it. Those are the two choices you got. I don't put my money in a drawer, or leave it in the luggage so somebody can go through the luggage. I don't do that. So it's either in a safe or it's on me. And then again, I just normally, if I'm not carrying $10,000 for the ladies I'm taking around Cuba, generally speaking, I don't have that much money on me anyway. Maybe $100 at the most. I mean, because most of the time you don't need that much because you can use your credit cards and stuff. So I just go to the ATMs and get out whatever I need for the day. That might be cash. So there's not that much. And with as far as your passport goes, just make sure you take get yourself a copy of your passport. Be sure you have a screenshot of your passport, and a paper copy of your passport. Put that away someplace separate. So in case your passport did get stolen, you could go to the embassy and say, hey, this is my passport. And the other thing, same thing with the phone. Just don't put your phone where people are going to grab it. Don't lay the phone down in a cafe. You're going to a cafe and internet cafe. They used to have this. People don't use them as much anymore, but some countries that's still the only way you can access internet. People go into there and then they put their phone down like this, and they're like that, and somebody just comes along and snatches it. Well, don't put your phone down. Phones just stay on you. And here's a trick that I use that really has helped me out. It's one of my favorite things. I want to call it a hack and call it a hack, but one of the things I do is always have a what I call the emergency fund. You can decide how much to put in. I call it a $300 emergency fund. Now, what does that mean? Not only do you worry about getting robbed, you worry about getting ripped off sometimes. Like somebody's going to overcharge you for something. Oh, you're a tourist, so we charge you twice as much. Oh gosh, they ripped me off. Well, so what? I mean, quite frankly, if you can afford to fly to their country and spend the money you're spending in their country, you can probably afford twice as much as the locals. So get over yourself on that. I mean, so I've been in so many countries where I know the locals are paying $5 and I'm paying 15. I don't care. The people who are paying $5, that might be their salary for the day. So I can afford to be, quote, ripped off. I can afford to pay a foreigner fee. I'll live with that. So I'm not bent out of shape over that. Then sometimes, you just have to, sometimes you have to bargain. Sometimes you bargain, but you don't get the good bargain. Okay, well, that's just part of life, traveling and all that kind of stuff. I haven't been ripped off. I can't remember any place I've really been ripped off, quite frankly. And as a matter of fact, what's amazing to me is that not only have I not been ripped off, well, I take it back. One time I did get ripped off. I was in Guatemala. I was in, where was I? Panajachel, I think. Panajachel in Guatemala is a lake. And I went to a place to get a ticket to go to Tikal, which is in the jungle. You have to take a bus all the way to the capital, the capital, and then you've got to go all the way up into the mountains. So it's a long trip, and it's 2 buses. And so I went to this little touristy agency and I said, where can I get this? I need to get a bus ticket. So this European dude sold me a ticket to Tikal all the way through. Next, he said, and you have to go to the next town, he said, in the morning, and you'll pick up that bus there. I'm like, all right. And so I went to the bus and I showed him the guy the ticket. He goes, yeah, this is no good. He said, did you buy it off that crook over in Panajachel? I'm like, apparently I did. And I was like, man, I got robbed. I got ripped off, And was it going to kill me if I got ripped off? I forgot how much it cost. I don't know if it's $30 or $40 or whatever. And I said, but you know what the guy did? He said, oh, don't worry about it, just get on the bus. I'm like, with a bad ticket? He let me on the bus. And he took me down to Guatemala City. I got off in Guatemala City and I'm standing there and the next bus is there. And I said, what can I do? Because I got this ticket in. I bought it in Panajachel and they say it's bad. And he goes, oh yeah, that is bad. That guy keeps ripping people off. Go ahead, get on the bus. They took me all the way to the jungle, to Tikal, on a bad ticket. 2 different bus drivers. So, I mean, how amazing is that? I mean, those people are so kind. I mean, they didn't rip me off. They gave me a bonus. I mean, one guy ripped me off, but everybody else was, I was shocked how nice they were. So I've had things like that happen. But here's the $300 I call the emergency fund. All right, so always put aside $300 or $200 in your head, whatever the hell it is, as your emergency fund. The emergency fund covers being ripped off. It covers, oh my God, I got stuck someplace and I had to pay for a hotel that was 3 times the cost that I wanted to pay. Oh my God, I got stuck someplace and I had to pay for an Uber, and the Uber cost me $100. Whatever it is, something unexpected happened and you had to shell out a bunch of money that you didn't plan to shell out, or you got ripped off and you paid way more than you should have, or somebody did steal something from you. They stole something out of your pocket and it was $50, whatever. And you get all bent out of shape. You're like, oh my God, my life is awful. No, have an emergency fund. You put the emergency fund out there, you say, okay, I got $300 and that's my fund for when I travel. If something happens that doesn't go well, the money comes out of my emergency fund. And every time I travel, I have that emergency fund. So let's say I do lose $50. I go, well, it's just $50 from the emergency fund. I expected that. Do you know what's happened? I've traveled all over the world. I don't think I've used that stupid emergency fund yet. But I have it there because it relieves me of the thought that, oh my God, if I lost an extra $100 on that trip, I shouldn't have lost. Oh, get over it. Get over it. You're making your life miserable because something was unfortunate, and you can still afford the $100 loss. You really can. So if you put it in an emergency fund and have that in your head, I have up to $300 to lose when things go wrong on this trip. Then if something goes wrong and you spend $125, you go, well, no, I expected that. That's from the emergency fund. And it wasn't even the whole emergency fund. It was just a portion of it, And because, you can get paranoid before you go and you don't want to travel because you're so worried that all these bad people are going to do things to you. And then you're traveling and you're looking like this. I've seen people so paranoid. They're like thinking they're going to be robbed every second. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? because generally speaking, people are lovely. I mean, I can't believe how many places I've traveled and never had anybody do anything to me, steal anything from me. It's just been amazing. And if they did, I don't want that to ruin my whole trip just because, oh, I had some bad luck and I'm out $100. Big deal. If you can afford to travel, you should not complain, because 95% of the world can't afford to leave their hometown. That's how poor they are. You can. And so if you can travel, you can afford to lose a little extra cash if it happens to you. So if you really can't, look at your trip before you go. Travel in a way that's not so expensive that first of all, you can afford it. I travel very cheaply. Generally speaking, I stay in Airbnbs. I take local transport because I enjoy being in the culture. And my trips are like, when I did the trips for ladies, called Older Women Cheap Travel, there was $100 a day. And that $100 included your lodging, your food, your transport, and your entertainment, which is a pretty good deal. I mean, how many people go away for 10 days and only have to spend $1,000, right? And that's what I set up for people. And didn't include the plane fare, but everything else was included. All kinds of cool things. We went to like restaurants and got taught how to cook the food there. We went to fancy performances. We just did all kinds of cool things, and all on that amount of money. But you can also spend $500 a day or $1,000 a day, because your hotel room costs $400 and you're eating at good restaurants, and that's another $200 or $300. And everything's expensive, so it's $1,000 a day. Well, if you're out there spending $1,000 a day, I guess you can afford to get ripped off for $100. and if you're only spending $100 a day, you get extra money left over. So there you go. So stop worrying so much. Enjoy traveling. Stop being paranoid. But respect the culture. Dress appropriately so that people don't target you as somebody who has got too much money. Oh, jewelry. Yeah, for God's sakes. I love 22 karat gold jewelry from India. If I'm in India, I do wear some little bit of 22 karat gold, but I don't wear like big fat bracelets or anything, because those cost a fortune. So I limit it to the smallest amount just to be pretty. But if I travel any place outside of India, I wear just simple silver jewelry that isn't very expensive, so nobody wants to steal it from me. I certainly know I leave any gems at home and all that kind of crap. Don't do that. I mean, if you're going to travel, you're going to travel to Paris, and you're going to stay in a hotel with a really nice safe. Sure. And you're going to go out to really fancy places. Take all the jewelry you damn well please. But what you're going to do is you're going to get to the airport. You're going to you have your proper transport to get to your hotel. You put your stuff in the in the safe, and we go out in the evening. You're probably not going to a slum to have dinner, so you can probably wear all of those things, and obviously take the appropriate transportation to and from, so you're not wandering down the back streets getting robbed. But just look at the society you're in, and dress appropriately. Stay around women and children. Make sure that you're just not going in places that are, where nobody's pickpocketing you. They're putting a knife to your throat. I mean, you don't want to go to those places, and that's never happened to me because I don't go to those places. And so, yeah, and have your little emergency fund, so you just don't get all bent out of shape. Oh my God, they charged me $20 too much. My vacation is ruined. Yeah, don't do that. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Put your comments below, and anything that has worked for you. And yeah, don't get robbed. Don't get ripped off. Just travel smartly, and don't travel paranoid. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.